Day two of Putin's invasion of the Ukraine is underway. At this hour, Boris Johnson is playing the role of apologist for Russia, telling Parliament how Russia and the United Kingdom have long been close friends and allies dating back to the Second World War. Of course, what he doesn't tell you is that they weren't allies. Joe Stalin was playing Churchill and Roosevelt and accomplished all of his goals in stealing Eastern Europe for himself, creating a massive buffer zone, which all came to a crash with the collapse of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. So let's take a listen here while that air conditioner is off for a little bit. This is Bojo.
Today, I want to send a strong message to Russia that the international community will not tolerate the use of sexual violence in conflict.
Yes, and I thank her for all the work that she's done on that issue.
Yes, please lick her boots.
The UK government has campaigned on for a long time, and indeed raised the issue very greatly in public international. I think it should be treated as a war crime like any other people who perpetrate sexual violence in conflict could expect. To be
Sexual violence. There's no instance of sexual violence reported here. Why are we talking about this?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In seeking to redraw the boundaries of Europe through bloodshed, Putin has attacked not only the Ukraine but all of us, and we stand with Ukraine and stand for the rule of law. I welcome the sanctions that he's announced.
Chi Onuwa, a traditional English name, or Welsh or Celtic, I guess. Nigerian.
That is many, many, many months away. Russian disinformation
So this
is
fossil.
organized, their bots are state-sponsored. What steps will he take to address
She's
them?
never been on the internet. What does she know about bots?
But we've got and she raised a good point, but we've got, what we're doing is a massive, positive stratcoms campaign.
Massive, positive, strategic communications plan. We're going to convince them all of the better choice to follow our lead and not do what Vladimir Putin wants them. Prime Minister's minutes.
This afternoon, virtually everyone in this House has supported the efforts towards resistance over the last few months and in these days. I imagine the House will also support a very different sort of warfare under occupation over the coming months and possibly years.
That's enough of that. Let me talk for a little bit here, folks. Small audience at this hour, but thanks for joining me. It's a bit early, I guess, in South Africa. Well, people just dropping off there. Well, sorry to see you go. Why'd you have to go so quickly there? You're welcome to hang around with me if you'd like. Just let me adjust that a little bit better there. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Just tilt it like that a little better. And there we go. That's not right. What's going on here? Sorry, I've got this at just the right angle here. It's not quite working out the way I want it to. It's because this phone is so heavy. There we go. That's better. It's so heavy it pulls on the stand. But anyway, folks, let me just get you updated. After 24 hours here, last night on day one, Russian special forces and airborne troops were reported to be closing in on Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. Ukraine officials said in a statement that some civilian targets had come under fire and that the Russian forces had seized control of the former nuclear power plant at Chernobyl. Of course, famously on the 6th, that's the 6th, His Excellency wants this, on the 26th of April, 1986, that thing blew its top, spreading radiation in the worst nuclear power plant accident in human history. At this hour, it is now 6:05 in the morning in Kiev. At this hour, Russian forces are reportedly only 30 kilometers from the outskirts of Kiev and on the march as daybreak approaches. Ukrainian officials report that 137 Ukrainian soldiers were killed in the first 24 hours of fighting, with more than 300 wounded. Now, that's a conflicting report. I've seen other reports saying that 137 civilians were killed. I suspect that that's a misstatement. Actually, it's 137 soldiers. Thus far, no reporting on any Russian casualties, but clearly there are Russian casualties. There have been multiple claims of aircraft shot down, including some wild story about some crazy Ukrainian pilot who shot down like 46 Russian aircraft. Seems highly improbable. I'm going to have to sneeze, excuse me. Excuse me, folks. So, Russia's defense ministry claims that it has disabled Ukraine's air defense and air bases, and that Russian forces destroyed more than 70 of their military targets, including 11 airfields, a helicopter, and 4 drones. That seems probably potentially accurate there. Now, why is this all happening? Well, Joe Biden's woke anti-energy zealotry has left not only Europe vulnerable, but turned the U.S. from an energy independent and exporter 13 months ago, just 13 months ago, not 30 years ago, 13 months ago, we were the world's largest energy producer and we were a major energy exporter to the world. But they've turned this into dependency on Russia with news that's come out recently with strikingly more than 500,000 barrels of oil the U.S. purchases every single day. Can you imagine that, folks? We buy 500,000 barrels of oil from Russia every day. And of course, Biden's feckless policies and his efforts to destroy our economy for his woke leftist religious zealots from the climate community have driven up the price of oil, caused problems in the futures market, and caused lots of issues for us. How's that? How's the voice? My voice is fine. Excuse me. I got air conditioning on here and it's not working properly and it gets cold, it gets warm, so the temperature's swinging up and down. But we now, apparently, from having been a country that exported oil and liquefied natural gas a year ago, we are dependent on Russia for 500,000 barrels of oil per day. Now, there's all kinds of problems with that. Not only Biden's policies, which caused disruptions in the energy market, which pushed the price of oil up needlessly, but beyond that, we're handing over $80 a barrel to Russia every single day for 500,000 barrels. That's absolute insanity. We've enriched the Russians under Joe Biden. We weren't importing a barrel of oil from Russia before Joe Biden became our president. So that's 17 million barrels, more than 17 million barrels of oil imported from Russia per month. You do the math. $80 a barrel, 17 million. That's a lot of money. We're talking about a lot of money. And there's no need. We have the energy right here. But the religious zealots, the climate lunatics, have convinced this government to impoverish Americans, crush American jobs, crush American innovation, crush American exports, and make us transfer our hard-earned dollars and hard currency to foreign powers who are our enemies. And did you know this? The United States is now purchasing oil from Iran. We haven't purchased oil from Iran since like 1979. We're buying oil from Iran. We have sanctions against Iran, this corrupt state. So I guess that's the end of Prime Minister's minutes there on C-SPAN. Oh no, it's on a commercial. Didn't know I had a commercial there. So anyway, let me flip it to another channel behind me there. See what we got there. Which one's this? It's CNBC, no, Shark Tank, CNN with all their talking morons. Don Lemonhead's there. Yeah, I saw, I couldn't stomach it very long earlier, but Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, the disrespectful and rule-breaking chain of command breaker, arrogant ass that he is now getting all kinds of attention. His article that he wrote, which had some good points, seems to be mostly nonsensical from his description of it, despite some good points, was published by The Atlantic. The woke leftist Atlantic published it. So now he's published in The Atlantic, and this guy never wrote anything, to my knowledge, never been published previously. Suddenly he's the darling of the left. It's absolute insanity, folks. So people who know what they're talking about aren't being disguised. I know a guy who's the subject matter expert on this topic, and he worked at the War College, but is retired now, and he's brilliant. He is a Russian FAO, and unlike Alexander Vindman, he's a real FAO, and he's a real colonel, not a light colonel. So anyway, I'm just teasing with the light colonel. Light colonels called colonels. Well, so why are we buying oil from Iran? What the hell? Meanwhile, while day one of the invasion is now complete and we're entering day two at this hour, we're already in day two because it was an hour ago that they attacked, 5 a.m. roughly thereabouts in Kiev time. Day one, the CNN and the New York Times are obsessing over a former president who is so deeply embedded in their minds that the fake stream media are blind to reality. Both media outlets have spent the first 24 hours of a massive invasion of Russian forces busily typing away little hit pieces on the former president and his allies in Congress. That's what they're focused on. They're focused on the former president and his allies in Congress. This is absolutely insane, folks. I mean, this is the world we live in. This is what they're focused on. So CNN felt the need to go after Representative Elise Stefanik of New York. Now, I submit to you that the words of a single member of the U.S. House of Representatives is of little to no importance or consequence in the current context. Rather than waste time with hack pieces on Republican opponents, perhaps these obsessed lamestream outlets can briefly focus on events in the Ukraine. Wouldn't that be nice? Now, CNN breathlessly reports, and this is what they do with their clickbait articles to attack these hack jobs. They attack Elise Stefanik, basically accusing her of attacking the U.S. president while ignoring what Putin has done. And actually, she did attack Putin's, but hang tight. Just 4 likes and only 12 people here. This is really sad. I'm really having a hard time getting audiences now, aren't I? Thank you for those who are here, though. So, this is what Ilya Stefanik said, Representative. After just 1 year of weak, feckless, and unfit President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief, the world is less safe. Rather than peace through strength, we are witnessing Joe Biden's foreign policy of war through weakness. For the past year, our adversaries around the world have been assessing and measuring Joe Biden's leadership on the world stage, and he has abysmally failed on every metric. From kinetic and deadly attacks on our allies and partners, to the catastrophic withdrawal and surrender in Afghanistan, to the cyber attacks impeding American industry and infrastructure, to today's Russian invasion of Ukraine, Joe Biden and his administration have failed America and the world. Now, what part of that is untrue? What part of that's even controversial for objective observers? Now, Stefanik went on to call Putin a war criminal and a deranged thug. But CNN felt the need to write the story as an attack piece on Elise Stefanik for being an ally of Donald Trump. That's what their focus was. They attacked her rather than focusing on the conflict in the Ukraine, which you're seeing unfold behind me on the cable news network right there. Now let's change the channel. Let's get up to the next one here. What's next? It's that one. Headline news, just ads. MSNBC, there you go. Put that stupidity up for a couple minutes. Rather than focus on the conflict, they are sitting down busily typing articles and writing op-ed pieces disguised as news, attacking Republicans and allies of Voldemort, Donald Trump. This is how obsessed they are with Donald Trump. 13 months after he's left office, he's not even in the news. And here's the other thing. The leftists have tried to blame Trump for this invasion. In fact, the New York Times goes on talking about how Trump praised Putin for being a clever fellow. Well, he's a lot brighter than Biden. I mean, that's not exactly praise for Putin. It's just stating the obvious, the painfully obvious, that Joe Biden is a demented lunatic and Putin is quite clever. He's a hell of an intelligence officer and a case officer. He knows what he's doing. So she, Elise Stefanik, actually, in her comments, attacked Putin. So what is their heartburn? I mean, rather than devote ink to genuine reporting, these fake stream media outlets find time for these hit pieces against Republicans when a war kicks off. It's just been 25 hours since the war kicked off. Now, Beijing, for its part, is even refusing to call Russia's invasion or offensive an invasion. This offensive is not being called an invasion by the Chi-Coms in Beijing. Now, the Chi-Coms worked out in oil and grain deals with Russia ahead of this invasion, combined with moronic Biden admin efforts to destroy U.S. energy independence that have helped jack up the prices of oil while also handing over hard-earned U.S. currency to Russia for 500,000 barrels a day. So, while the Olympics were going on, it begs the question, what did Putin and Xi agree to during the Olympics? Was there an agreement for China to actually finance the Ukraine invasion? Is this a distraction to take our attention away from the Straits of Taiwan and a pending Chinese attack or invasion effort to occupy Taiwan? Could it be? All speculation, but there's reason to be concerned about these issues. Now, where is U.S. intelligence on this? One of the biggest challenges as intelligence officers determining intent. It's very difficult to get inside the head of your adversary and know what their intent is. You can predict what they're going to do based on information. You can predict what they're going to do based on things they've already accomplished. But getting inside the head of your opponent and finding out what their intent is one of the biggest challenges for intelligence officers. Now, how do you figure this out? Well, one way to do it is with intercepts. Also evaluating their past actions and what their objectives are. So, where was U.S. intelligence on this when Putin and Xi Jinping met in China? Why is that so? The screen is so hard to read. Ugh. Difficult. Sorry if you can't read that screen. I can't read either. It's all just a white screen. They've got some quote from 1948 up there. Yeah, so where was U.S. intelligence? Why did we know Putin's intent? The Ukrainians clearly didn't know it, or there wouldn't be hundreds of thousands of automobiles clogging the roads of Kiev trying to flee to the west. Good morning to you there, Shack Dweller, and everyone else. Griffin Gardner, welcome to you. Facts, what's this? Feds shut down a mining and project in Alaska. Handicap and production. China eyes Taiwan as new kind of, yeah. China eyes Taiwan as a new kind of absurd. I don't know what that means, the rest of it. Yeah, so at this hour, also, there's conflicting reports, and the media, including Fox News and CNN and others, are busy painting the picture of heroic Ukrainians holding off Goliath and making the claims that the Russian attacks have not gone well and they've been uncoordinated, and despite the fact they have total air superiority, they're not accomplishing their goals. And all that may be true, but it sure seems as if the media has decided that the Ukrainians are the underdogs. Now, to be sure, Putin is the aggressor, and he commenced this conflict, which is wholly unnecessary. But what's horrific about this is that people are dying right now, needlessly, absolutely needlessly. There's no need for these people to be dying whatsoever. And this is because of Biden's ridiculously failed and weak positions over and over and over again. He has shown to Putin that he is just a stooge. And it's playing out on the world stage right now, folks, as we sit here. It is 6:17 in the morning in Kiev. Yeah, so there's conflicting reports on the efficacy of Russia's invasion. Is it going well? Is it going poorly? CNN and Fox are claiming it's going poorly, that the Ukrainians are fighting heroically. But here's the bottom line, folks. As daylight breaks in Kiev and across Ukraine today, it'll be 25th. It's still 24th for me, for another 43 minutes. But for you all in Africa and Europe, it's already the 25th. But today, the 25th, as day breaks across Ukraine, the next 12 hours may in fact be the most crucial 12 hours in this conflict. Let me explain why it's so critical. Either Russia is able to continue on the offensive and gain ground, or in fact the Ukrainians are able to slow them and stop them. That would prove to be critical as Russian troops back up, their supply lines become jammed, and the Ukrainians are able to put defenses in position and also run limited counterattacks. So that's critical. Also, within the next 12 hours, if they're actually on the move, there's no way that Russian troops do not enter Kiev. So what will they do? Will they encircle Kiev? Will they send troops into Kiev? We'll see. Reports throughout the night indicate that the Russians have sent sleeper agents into Kiev. Teams have gone in there, probably Spetsnaz, special forces sort of things, to go in there and to kidnap officials, that sort of thing. That TV is really disturbing me looking at that like that. Let me see if that helps. No, that doesn't help. Doesn't help at all. It's just not the right thing tonight. It's not working out very well. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, so the next 12 hours will be the most critical or crucial 12 hours in this conflict, most likely. That's my assessment. It's important. The first 24 hours is the opportunity for shock and awe. The Russian offensive caught Ukraine completely by surprise, even though they were warned by Sleepy Joe for days that the invasion was imminent. What did the DC and London, as well as Ottawa and Canberra and Wellington, keep from Ukrainians that they could have shared with them to convince them that they need to get people out and get their forces? It's only now, after over 24 hours, that Zelensky's actually mobilizing the total force by calling up reserves. That didn't happen when troops rolled into the Donbass. That's when it should have happened. So lots of finger pointing can be done here now, but it's really not a healthy situation, folks. So again, the next 12 hours may be the most crucial hours in this invasion as Russian troops rock up to the gates of Kiev. And will they enter it or simply encircle the city and decide what they're going to do? Now, cable news outlets have been digging up the usual suspects when it comes to analysts and so-called experts on Ukraine and on Russia. So most of them are just pontificating and don't really know what they're talking about. They're just spitballing scenarios out there. And no doubt some of those scenarios will likely come true. I mean, you throw enough darts at a target, you're bound to hit it eventually. But there are exceptions. Fox has called out retired General Jack Keane, who is a bright mind and someone who does understand what's going on geopolitically. And they also called out former CIA case officer Buck Sexton, who's also a reliable subject matter expert. So that's two analysts that can actually share real thoughts with you. But let me see if there's any comments in the chat I can actually read here. From what I've seen, Colonel, Russia is infiltrating, big damage. It's just not reported. Where are you seeing if it's not reported? So I need to get my reading glasses because I'm having a hard time seeing. Give me a second there, folks. So I'll accept what was said there, but how are you seeing it if it's not being reported? That doesn't make any sense to me. So let me get back here and read some of this chat. That's what Shack Dweller's saying. So if it's not being reported, how are you seeing it? Is it on Twitter? Where people feeding these things? You have to be careful what's on Twitter too. Okay, that's he's saying. You have to be careful because people fake things. Remember 2 years ago, there was this big brouhaha that Namibia was importing tanks from South Africa. The Namibians import all these tanks. What's going on with all these tanks? They weren't tanks. They were armored personnel carriers, and they weren't for Namibia. They were vehicles purchased and destined for Botswana. And so, people showed video. And then when the coup took place in Zimbabwe, people were showing videos in the first few hours, which I refuted, by the way, on LinkedIn back at that time, because I wasn't using social media other than LinkedIn. I refuted instantly and said, this is bogus. There's no way that this is a current convoy because of the location, because of what's going on here. It's an exercise. And in fact, it turned out that it was video from an exercise that was 2 or 3 years old. So you got to be careful. Well, it can look legit, but that doesn't mean it is. Even the news organizations are being faked out with some of the videos that they're playing right now. Where there's justice for all those lives lost to dirty politicians. Yeah, this is ridiculous that people are dying here. Lucina, good morning. Thank you for coming. Well, good to see you again. Where have you been, Lucina? I haven't seen you in donkey years. Listening, putting together a cabinet for my rotationally pantry. Allergy meds for the air conditioning in Orlando hotels is something I always need, by the way. Yeah, it's probably what I need. It's giving me like allergies here. Or either that or I got the Rona. Take your pick. Feds shut down a mining road project up in Alaska. The pure idiocy of handicapping our production while China eyes top. Oh, gotcha. That's what Griffin Gardner said. Yeah, thank you for that. Hope you're well. Your thoughts on Taiwan after the Ukrainian events? Well, Craig, I'm concerned that that the Chinese are happy to have this happen. While the world was busy not watching the Chi-Com Winter Olympics, they were colluding with the Russians, obviously. And what did they do? Did they agree to finance this invasion? That's what it looks like. It looks like the Chi-Coms are financing this by buying grain and petroleum from the Russians, helping them keep the gravy train going for cash. Matt Canali totally agrees with Fishes and Loaves. Iran is enriching DC's pockets, probably. Okay, so the cadaver decides to nix the Keystone Pipeline and others. Well, plus he also banned the drilling on federal lands and then tried to shut down Gulf of Mexico oil and gas leases. Now, he did that and he was sued and it was reinstated. Then that was rescinded. But Biden just wanted to stop it. That was his plan. Yeah. All right, so I think I'm caught up on the chat now. Rotational pantry. Oh no, no spicy golf. No, I'm kidding about that. I'm fine. Good morning, Stephen from Vike. How are you? Yeah, so Rhino Bota, good to see you again as well. Well, I got some folks here I haven't seen in a while. I'll post in the group. Well, thank you for sharing that, Shack Dweller. They might very well be legit. I'm not denying it. I haven't seen the video. I'm just saying we have to be very careful with this, what comes through, because people share things like viruses, man. It's like if Twitter were unprotected sex, most of us would have STIs. We all have STIs. Chlamydia would be everywhere. There'd be syphilis everywhere. Well, that would explain Joe Biden's stupidity. If he has syphilis in the brain, it would explain it. But it's been a very long day for me as well, folks. Remember, I was up most of the night. I arrived here. I got to my hotel after midnight. Things weren't working properly. Finally got my room sorted out. I'm a lurker, says Lucina. Okay, cool. Enjoy listening to this. It's not tainted and accurate. Well, thank you, Lucina. I know because I saw you here before many times. So I appreciate your support for the channel. It's very much appreciated, especially an hour like this. I know what time. It's very early there in South Africa. And for people in the UK, it's pretty early too. It's pretty early for Ukraine. I didn't want to wait another hour because in the next hour, a whole lot of stuff could actually happen. So I wanted to get this out there because I want to talk about, I want to be on the record as saying, like I typically am often on the record as saying things, I'm telling you that the next 12 hours could be the most crucial in this conflict. That's my estimation. And that's what I want to get on the record here. That's why I came on. Plus, it's also after 11:30 here. I didn't want to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning unless it was necessary tonight. So I want to get on the air, even though it's a bit early, and so I'm ahead of the game. But at this hour, folks, most recent reports are Russian troops are headed towards Kiev, just 30 kilometers out. Now, that report's nearly an hour old. So if, in fact, they're marching, unless they've met resistance, they should be at the gates of Kiev right now as daylight breaks. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. We shall see if that's the case. Martin Mole, there's another person I haven't seen much lately. So welcome to you, Martin. It's always a pleasure. Glad to see you there. And thanks for tuning in. Sorry, folks, my eyes are sore. It's been a long day. If you're watching the channel, I did multiple live streams today from CPAC. I also did a few interviews, but I had some challenges with that, so I recorded them offline. I also ran into some trouble when I was doing live streams of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. My connection kept dropping off. Coincidental? And when I did a live stream of Senator Ted Cruz, my connection kept dropping off. I just pushed through with Cruz and got to the end, so there'll be some gaps in the video. My apologies for that, but it's still a good listen. DeSantis was an amazing listen, and I finally gave up because I couldn't reconnect. And his last 12 minutes, I recorded on my phone in better quality, but it's going to be impossible to upload here because it'll take hours to do that in the hotel. But I will have that for when I get back home, and I'll edit it and put it in a proper video, along with some great sound bites. I'll tell you what, folks, let's shift from the Ukraine very quickly. CPAC today, Governor Ron DeSantis, he knocked it out of the park. He absolutely knocked it out of the park. Martis Haynes, welcome to you. Notification. Yeah, no, people don't get notified, man. That's why there's only 26 people here. This topic at this hour, I would tell you that if my 5,000, nearly 700 subscribers got notifications, I guarantee we'd have 350 people watching this right now. You watch. Sunday, I'm supposed to be on Big Daddy Liberty. I'm going to take a break from the conference here and appear with Big Daddy Liberty. And you watch. 550 people show up there. 550 people. And I'm the one that actually knows about this topic, and they're going to show up for that topic. But anyway, it's guys, we know what it is. It's the PooTube shadow banning. So I'm sorry you don't get it. But again, the solution for this, once again, folks, as I've told many people, is number one, if you missed my live stream, please go back and watch my videos. It makes a difference. It really does, especially if it's after the video is aired. It pushes up the stats, and that engagement is very helpful. So that's the first thing. That way you don't miss my content, even if you can't catch it live. Second thing is there's two things. Please join the Telegram announcements group, the Chris Wyatt Africa announcements group that's in Telegram. Now, here in Florida, I'm not doing it when I'm traveling. I'm using my phone. I don't do it. I'm on my phone right now because it's better quality than the laptop. The laptop webcam sucks. This is studio quality. So this is an exception, but normally every single video I do live stream and every video I prepare and post online, those videos are all mentioned and I post them in Telegram group. Now this one I didn't because with your mobile phone, you just go live. You can't take a preset recording. You just have to go with the new one. So I couldn't announce this one. But when I'm doing it from my PC, whether it's recorded or whatever, I always do it. So please, please join the announcements group. I don't think there's any mods here. In fact, my mods are always here. So they clearly, and there's the aircon kicking back on. So hopefully that's not going to bother you folks. But my mods are usually here. I don't see Erica or Hendo right now at this hour, even though it's early. Hendo, it's very early, so I don't expect to see him, but they usually pop on, but clearly they didn't get notified either. So anyway, so that's one thing. The other thing that you can do, please, is, what's this channel influences word, what's going on? The other thing you can do, folks, is you can also follow me on Linktree. I have a Linktree account that I actually pay for so that you can find all of my social media links. And if I get censored by PooTube, you'll find out what happened. Also, I live stream through Telegram sometimes. I may just do a Telegram live stream this week just for the heck of it and see how that goes. But anyway, so what I've done is that all these videos from CPAC will have a image I've made of the CPAC logo plus a photo of myself. Good morning, Robot Trucker. And Trans Conservative Waifu. Welcome to you again. Boy, somebody was having fun with your username in that previous stream, weren't they? They were trying to be cheeky. Yeah, so that's how you overcome the shadow banning and get notified of my stuff. I don't ever get notified of Roman Kabinet's live streams. I get notified of his prepared videos, his morning shot videos, but not his live streams. And it's hit or miss with Ronaldo, even though I've selected all. Ted Cruz calling, oh, that was so funny, wasn't it? He called Jen Psaki Peppermint Patty. I lost it. Of course, I'm in the media section, so you're supposed to be unbiased there, so I was like, covering up my laugh. Peppermint Patty. I'll give it to him, man. That's better than Circle Back, Broke Back, Saki. Peppermint Patty, that's what I'll call her from now on. It was so funny. But today was quite entertaining at CPAC, folks. Some really good speakers were there. Ted Cruz in the evening. Josh Hawley spoke after. He was the last speaker, but a lot of people hung around for Ted Cruz. Now, I don't know if the crowds are small or if they're normal. I don't know. How goes the war? What war about, Trucker? You tuned in late. We'd have to go listen to Peppermint Patty to find out how the war is going. Now, the war is kicking off again. Russian troops were reported in the last hour within 30 miles, 50 kilometers of Kiev, the outskirts of it. It is now after 6 a.m. there, and in fact, they're likely probably at the gates of Ukraine unless the counteroffensive stopped them. But the Ukrainians lack air support. They lack the ability to shoot down Russian aircraft, although they claim that they've shot down a number of aircraft, but that can be done in many ways. Did you get to meet any of the speakers? Nobody that spoke so far I've met, but But I did meet a couple of guys who are, one of them who's pretty well known from New Jersey, a guy whose parents are from Ghana. He's running as a conservative Republican, a black a genuine African American, not just the description based on skin color, but his parents came from Africa. I did meet him and his friend. We call them the twins, a white guy and a black guy, and they wore the same outfits today. But I did meet them. I did interview them. I also made some connections that are critically important, one of which will likely get me a Ukrainian Olympic athlete who's won 6 medals in the Olympics. She lives in Detroit now, and she's appeared on his program, so he's going to ask her to come on my program. So we'll talk to her about the Ukraine after I get back, because she's not here. She's up in Detroit. So we've got that going on. Also today, I met Kevin Sorbo. I'm not on recorded, but I did have a photograph, a selfie taken with him. I did take a couple short videos, which I posted. Kevin Sorbo, of course, who's famous for the Hercules series, the syndicated show, and for Andromeda. He played Captain Dylan Hunt in the Gene Roddenberry inspired and written Andromeda series, one of my favorite all-time sci-fi shows. Yep. How do you predict the invasion will go? Well, that's almost impossible to predict, Robot Trucker, but I think, based on what information we have, what's likely to happen. Now, this can change based on decisions made by others or how well the thing goes, but it's likely that he wants to remove the regime, get rid of Zelensky, put a puppet regime in there, and that'll be sufficient. But I don't think that'll necessarily mean the withdrawal of all Russian troops. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few divisions of Russian troops remain in Ukraine, particularly in eastern Ukraine, as insurance. And I think that's what we're going to see long term, is a mild occupation of predominantly irredentist Russian parts of the Ukraine. And it'll go forward. And probably somewhere down the road, the Ukrainians will say, well, you know what, you can have those territories. Of course, they're just puppets and stooges of Vladimir Putin, but Putin's 70. We'll see how long he can hold out there, Anyway, so I think that's what's going to happen, but it's hard to predict. I don't have access to Putin's intent. I don't have spies. I'm not listening in on him. I'm just reading the tea leaves based on what I'm seeing. And I think that the Russians will achieve what they want, which is to overthrow the government of Ukraine. Now, there was a couple more chats here. Kevin is, Transcus, our waifu. Kevin Sorbo is awesome. John Schneider is going to be here from Dukes of Hazzard, the conservative. And the lady that I spoke to today made a connection with, she's worked with John Schneider before, so fingers crossed. But the problem with the speakers is that they come and they get ushered into a VIP area, or if you even see them, and then they're back there in the green room. They come out, they speak, and then they come out and they just leave. Now, others who've shown up who are going to be speakers and are trying to draw attention, I mean, people like Sorbo want people to see them out there. So he did a few speaking engagements with some of the media here in their booths, and he hung out by the escalator. The security had to come over and ask him to move because he was holding up traffic, but he had a huge crowd. There was actually the lieutenant governor from North Carolina, rather big, rotund gentleman, and he followed Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who was just hit it out of the park. And when he followed Ron DeSantis, I'm like, that's a tough gig. But he also hit it out of the park, and he was hugely popular, got a standing ovation, and people followed him around the rest of the afternoon trying to talk to him. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I thought that he was the one over by the escalator while there was a crowd over there. So I walked over to see what was going on. It turns out it wasn't the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. It was actually Kevin Sorbo. So I got to meet Kevin Sorbo. It was really cool. Got a selfie with him. Took a few short videos of him. And if I get a chance, I'll try to interview him. And I might be able to get away with it because he seems inclined to give interviews. But the other thing was he mentioned his brother, because I mentioned I was in the Army. He mentioned his brother was retired lieutenant colonel. So that's some common ground. Maybe I can get on. What will happen if the Ukraine's president's assassinated? Will the U.S. and the world get involved? Well, the U.S. and the world is involved, Benny Tigline. Do you mean with troops? No, we're not deploying troops to Ukraine. That isn't going to happen. But yeah, what are your predictions based on those tea leaves surrounding Ukrainian insurgencies? Oh, yeah, no. Well, that's one of the reasons why I asked the question, which no journalists were asking Biden and Psaki, Pepper and Patty. Hello, Idaho Garden Girl. I asked that question, why would Putin invade Ukraine? What does he get from it? That's a question nobody asked Biden. They didn't put him on the spot. And that was Biden's obligation to tell us why he thinks he was going to invade. Well, because the reason I asked that question is because what Putin is going to get out of this is an unending guerrilla campaign. The Ukrainians have clearly showed their mettle. There's people in the streets right there getting excited about, you can see that in the news behind me. They're holding up flags there. the Ukrainians are likely to fight a guerrilla war. They did against the Nazis. Why wouldn't they do it against the Russians? Anyway, so yeah. So it could be quite costly, and I don't think it serves Russia's interest long term. So anyway, but now they're all fond of running around saying this is all about Putin trying to recreate the Soviet Union. He wants to expand the borders back out. Well, the problem with that narrative is that means that he has to occupy Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, who have already invoked Article 4, saying they feel threatened, which means that the NATO members are obliged to assist them and help them out to come to the defense. And then if he invades or attacks Estonia, Latvia, or Lithuania, that can be Article 5. Article 5, which means an attack on one member of NATO is an attack on all members and obligates it. Now, it's been invoked by Turkey several times and by the NATO itself when the U.S. was attacked on 9/11. Article 5 was invoked for the first time. So it's been, I think, invoked like 4 or 5 times now, almost every time for Turkey, with one exception, which is when the U.S. was attacked. Article 5 means that NATO countries will have to defend those Baltic states. So Putin, unless he wants a nuclear war, does not want to provoke a conflict with NATO. He wants to push people out. So he's not going to be able to restore the old Soviet Union with the Baltic states. In addition to that, I mean, there's not just that. There's Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan. These are all former Soviet republics. Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. These places aren't coming back into the fold. I mean, they can be intimidated. They can also be client states, but they're not going to come back into the fold. That seems highly unlikely. Maybe you might be able to pull it off with Tajikistan or Kazakhstan, but not all of these, and certainly not in short order. So Russia's already made themselves a pariah in the world's eyes over what's going on here. So anyway, I don't think that we're going to see Russia stay long term. But hey, that's just, I mean, I don't have a lot of information. That's the problem as an intelligence analyst. You work with the information you have, you make a prediction as best you can. And that's what I'm doing. I'm offering you a prediction which is best I can at the moment. I like the part where Canada trying to freeze the truckers' Bitcoin. Oh, yeah, Acid Delta. So did you listen to, Ted Cruz was brilliant, man. I'm so glad that I covered that. He said he pulled out a letter from a Bitcoin company. They were to the Canadian authorities and told them that they had to confiscate the assets, yada, 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 freeze assets. Like, we can't freeze anything. We don't control anything. I mean, so you're telling us to freeze the private property of someone and it's under their control? How can we do that? It's awesome. It was awesome. It just shows you how disconnected and stupid these elites are. They have no idea what they're talking about or what they're calling for. It's sad and pathetic, to say the least. But at this hour, folks, it's now approaching 7 a.m. in Ukraine. And fighting, no doubt, is continuing. Let's listen in real quick and see what we hear.
Can help his family lead. He sounds very steadfast, as do other leaders there. We had the parliamentary member on last night. They don't want to go anywhere.
There were efforts early on to get him out, to get him to Poland, to get
Zelensky.
him at least to the western part of Ukraine, and they just kind of fell apart.
Yeah, President Zelensky's in serious jeopardy of his life, as well as his family, members of parliament. There's some serious concerns about the welfare of these folks right now and their lives. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Pretty crazy stuff. But by the way, that's two of my favorite journalists, actual real journalists, real live journalists for Fox News. That's, of course, Brett Baer. And although he has let me down a few times recently, and Molly Shannon, she's brilliant. Molly Shannon is amazing. I really love the work she does for Fox News. I rarely watch Fox News, but when I do, I'm happy to see either one of those journalists on there. They're not simply talking heads, they're actually journalists who know something about what they're talking about, which is always nice. Hey, I see we got 25 likes with 36 viewers. We had 40 viewers a minute ago. Yeah, but yeah, the thing with Canada was funny. Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, and Ron DeSantis all hit it out of the park in their speeches today. These poor people are going through absolute, is that horror? Yeah, absolute horror. Yeah, they are. And it's just totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. When you are weak and you display your weakness, others will seek to take advantage, which is what Russia's doing. They're taking advantage. That's the bottom line, folks. Russia is seeking to take advantage, and they are taking advantage. So let me just run through some of the points. I made some notes here earlier, just so that everybody's up to speed, because everybody wasn't here at the beginning. Last night, Russian forces, special forces, and airborne troops were closing in on Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. Now, at this hour, they're on the outskirts of Ukraine, most likely. The Ukrainian officials said that some civilian targets had come under fire last night. The Russian forces had seized the former nuclear power plant at Chernobyl. Of course, that famously blew up on the 26th of April, 1986. I never forget it because Udo Lindenberg wrote a song called Chernobyl. And he says, am 26. 1986 in Chernobyl. And I'll never forget that because that's when I was learning German. Anyway, so they took control of Chernobyl. But crucially, a key airfield, some 20 kilometers outside of Kiev, northwest of Kiev, was reportedly captured by the Russians, and then in a counterattack, recaptured by Ukrainian forces. And that's important because if they had control of that airfield, then the Russians are right on top of Ukrainians. They can just fly supplies, troops in there, and bomb. The turnaround time from the airfield to refuel to go bomb Kiev is just minutes. So that would be very critical for them. But at this hour, Russian forces are reportedly less than 30 kilometers from the outskirts of the city on the march, and the light is coming up. The Ukrainian government, for its part, reports 137 Ukrainian soldiers. Hey, Rick, good morning to you. 137 soldiers lost their lives in the first day of fighting, and an additional 300 were wounded. No reports from the Russian authorities about casualties. And then, in addition to that, Russia's defense ministry claimed that it had disabled Ukraine's air defenses and air bases, and that Russian forces had destroyed more than 70 military targets, including 11 airfields, a helicopter, and 4 drones. That's interesting. Biden's woke anti-energy zealotry has left not only Europe vulnerable, but turned the U.S. from an energy independent and an energy independent nation and an exporter 13 months ago. Just 13 months ago, we led the world in global energy production. Now we're dependent on Russia. We are apparently buying over 500,000 barrels of oil from Russia every day. That beggars the imagination. Why are we buying oil from Russia? Why are we pumping oil here? Because of the religious zealots, the climate zealots. They have successfully stopped the Keystone XL pipeline. They've stopped exploration for oil in federal lands, and they've stopped offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. And they've also created policies and EPA regulations that have made it almost impossible to be profitable in the fracking industry, crippling our natural gas sector. It's crazy. Still here listening. What's that? That's what she said there. Sorry. Dang, dealing with 3-inch screws in the base. I still mess with that. They're obsessed with climate. You're absolutely right. They're trans-conservative wife. They're absolutely obsessed with it. So much so that they so conveniently overlook the fact that the Paris Climate Accord, which is a scam thing, it has no teeth to it. No one is punished for transgressing. Doesn't even include Russia and China. They're not even part of it. China is the world's worst polluter. They're not even part of it. It's absolutely crazy, folks. And they just overlook that. China builds 350 coal-fired power plants every year. Who cares that they build 5, solar voltaic farms? They built 350 coal-fired power plants. They're the world's largest polluter by a wide measure. Not only did they surpass the United States in the past decade, but they went light years ahead of us, while our pollution continues to decline. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy what the Chinese are up to. And the climate zealots just ignore that. Just like they ignore the fact that there's no teeth to the Paris Agreement. It doesn't have any teeth. Is COVID over? Well, maybe it will be over with this. And by the way, what's happening with Taiwan? There's so many things going on, and no one's talking about the truckers rally. The People's Convoy is getting no press. It's underway, headed towards Washington, D.C. And what's happening in Trudeau's little fascist paradise? We don't know what's going on up there. It looks like an erectile dysfunction ad going on over there. Yeah, so are these just distractions? Who knows? Who knows? Morning Shot's got a video coming up in a moment. He'll get thousands of views, and I don't. That's the new spicy control switch. They use it when they need to. That's the way communism works, by not letting true stats out. Yeah, and not putting the facts out there. So I've also met some interesting people. One of them is a group that works on women's issues and conservative women. And one of the topics they're working with is trying to exclude transgender athletes from competing in female sports. This is a topic very near and dear to my heart that I take serious attention and focus to. So I'm going to interview them as well. And yeah, actually, this is an interesting thing too. There was a group of atheists at the convention, and they're conservatives. So it's kind of odd because usually conservatives are more Christian or Muslim or Jewish, but these are atheists. So I think I might interview them. Now it sounds like something Jeremy Nell would do with germ warfare, but I'm going to interview them and have them come on and talk about atheism and how they have things in common with conservatives. And I think it'll be interesting. Also, I've been wanting to talk to Jeffrey Lord, who's a noted conservative for 2 years, and he lives just 15 kilometers from me, but I've never been able to get in touch with him. went to the restroom. I went to the loo, and I was washing my hands. I looked over, and I'm like, oh, I've been trying to reach you for a couple of years. And I explained to him who I'd gone through, and they didn't get in touch with him. And he gave me his card. And so I'll be interviewing Jeffrey Lord as well. Well known, well known. So, Robot Truck, Aviatrix model says liberalism is sickness, wokeism is just a symptom. Yet, can I even say you are a skeptic because people call you science denier? But see, that's the thing. The people that call you science deniers are the people that deny science. They're the ones that say the science is settled. No. If you make that claim, you know nothing about science. So, anyway, is that George Floyd on the screen? Good Lord, can we stop looking at this clown? Guy beats pregnant women. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what's going on, folks. Apparently you people think it's over. A lot of people do think it's over. Did you see that comment from Ted Cruz? Isn't this great to be in the freest state in the country? Look at these thousands of people out here and not a single frickin' mask. Well, Ruvani, I could say the same thing about most of the people out there who are completely oblivious to many things that I talk about all the time. Was conservative when I was an atheist. There you go. See, Robot Trucker, you were conservative when you were an atheist. That's why I think it might be interesting for people to listen to that. So yeah, I'll be having these guys on. That'll be cool. I met a number of people in the booths out there. Oh, by the way, Mike Lindell was there. Oh, it's news. If I get a chance to interview him, I'll interview Mike Lindell, but I'm not happy with him and his, what does he call his thing? Frank, whatever it's called. Anyway, I'm not happy about it, but I'll try to interview him if I get a chance. So I've got to try to upload an interview tonight. It's going to be a challenge because it's so big. Because I record on my phone rather than live stream it. But we'll see how it goes. And this will be the two guys from New Jersey. And I asked them about a number of issues, including systemic racism in America, which is interesting because the one guy is Cuban, a Cuban descent. His parents are Cuban. They escaped Cuban. The other guy's parents are from Ghana. Yep. So it was interesting to say the least. I'm up in Minnesota. The anti-Trudeau sentiment is surprisingly strong on the ground. I love the Emperor Palpatine parallels. That's good. I hadn't heard that. Yeah, the pillow guy. That's him, Mike Lindell, the pillow guy. Oh, he was talking tonight. He was just really annoying. Yeah, he's great. He's a great guy. He's got a great story, and he's a brilliant business guy. But he shouldn't have promised us that we'd have something. And all I get are text messages all the time telling me that Lindell's doing this and ads for my pillow. I've got their pillows already. I don't need any more ads. And I thought we were being promised the site that we could use, but no, we didn't get to use that site. It's for him and his buddies. So anyway, I'll tell you today, folks. Boy, I hit 10,000 steps before 11 o'clock in the morning, and I went up with about 20,000 for the day. My feet were killing me in my shoes. Oh my gosh! Now, not like a woman walking around in pumps and high heels, but man, it was still killing my feet. They were really sore, and then I was constantly sweating, which is not something like, not a heavy sweat, but just annoying, damp. So I wore a suit today, but it was so warm today. I'm going to continue to wear a suit, I think, but it was tough. It was tough. Yeah, plus I carried a lot of crap because my colleague couldn't get in. His credentials weren't there. Then I checked on it, and they approved it. I had to come back to confirm they approved it, but then they never sent the email. He drove all the way over to the resort complex, and he couldn't get in, and it was kind of annoying. But tomorrow he'll be with me, so we can share. One person can watch other person's stuff if they run off to do something, to go to the loo or interview somebody. So why are Nigerian American immigrants successful? Well, we're about trucker. Why are Black African immigrants in general so successful? Primarily for the same reason that most immigrants are successful that come to America, because they came here with a purpose, with a reason. They wanted to be an American. They want to be on our team, and they have more drive and energy than most native-born folks. And so that's just the norm, folks. That's why. That's the deal. So anyway, let me turn the TV off. We don't need that anymore, so get the TV off there. Yeah, so, yeah, there we go. Got it over here. But that's just the norm. Immigrants tend to do quite well. In fact, all immigrants, including Black African immigrants from Africa, have higher per capita incomes and they have better lives and live in better neighborhoods, and are much more successful in so many ways than native-born Americans of all ethnicities. So the problem with this stupid narrative about America being systemic racist is total nonsense. And that's the argument I've made for years. I said, if you're going to tell me that America is systemic and racist, then it means that Black Americans don't have an equal opportunity to achieve in the marketplace, in our universities, in our schools, in our businesses. Well, that just doesn't work. The bottom line is this. There is a cult, a crowd, a coof of race hustlers within the Black American community. Now, this is the Black American community, but let's just accept that, okay? We'll go with that term. People like Jackson and Sharpton and so many others who wallow in self-pity and victimization, victimhood, and they sell this narrative of victimhood to Black Americans, and people fall for it. And it makes them highly influential. They live great lives with lots of money and donations. Meanwhile, Black poverty is not affected in any positive way by this nonsense. They do nothing. They do nothing. Black poverty has been reduced immensely by Donald Trump getting rid of unnecessary regulations, resulting in $1 trillion windfall of U.S. money coming back from banks overseas, invested in our economy, plus lower tax rates. These things created so many jobs for minorities, particularly Black Americans. But the steps that the government wants to take normally don't work. So anyway, that's the bottom line with that. So kind of got a little bit off that track there, but I hope that answered the question about why Nigerians. It's not just Nigerians, Ghanaians, Nigerians, South Africans, even Chadians and Cameroonians who come here do very well, very well. I know a lady who was the wife of a Congolese officer at the War College who beat her, and her life was in jeopardy. So she applied for and got asylum because she was in the States, and it was granted. I was involved in the case because I speak French fluently and they need somebody to talk. So here I was as an interpreter, as a full colonel doing a private job, being an interpreter. But I became very familiar with the case as a consequence. So she stayed here. When I was involved, she didn't speak a single word of English. She'd been here for like 3 months, or 4 months, couldn't speak English at all. And now she's very successful. She's got a job. She's raising her children. And she's safe in America, having got genuine asylum. And yeah, she speaks English perfectly fine now. So the reason why these Nigerians and others are so successful is because they're the ones with the skills, and they couldn't use those skills. Well, I mean, Elon Musk is not a refugee, but he's here. Song Shishong, the South African-born Chinese, ethnic Chinese who made it big in America because we have the environment for it. And we don't discriminate despite the lies. Let me see. It's amazing how your stream is buffering while other live streams are running 100%. Well, Yusuf, it's because I'm being harassed on YouTube. It happened today. Every time DeSantis' name came up, every time Cruz's name came up, my stream started buffering. You know, it's just another way they attack my channel. Always sore feet in Orlando. You need to treat yourself to relax. You know, that'd be nice. Lots of water. Wear cotton and linen for the reason. Yeah, well, I mean, I have to wear a suit, so I'm not wearing a linen suit. That's like, you know, that's what pimps and drug dealers do, and former CIA agents. What's depressing is that Thomas Sowell debunked all these narratives in the 80s and 90s, the willingness to live in a happy dream. It is very seductive to people. You're exactly right there. And Thomas Sowell is a great American, a genius, but he's a nonagenarian now, and I don't know how much longer I'll have him. I would love to have an interview with him. It would be amazing. But anyway, so Jeffrey Lord is the guy that I'm having the interview with, who's a noted conservative. He's here, and I ran into him in the loo. So I got his business card, and I'll be interviewing him sometime soon. So my stream is good right now. Jusiansa, yeah, we had trouble today. Telegram was blocked, but Huawei phones don't have this problem. It's Google and Play Store is the problem to get some. Huh? Oh, that's weird, Acidzil. Okay. All right, it says continue on, but that's everything. So that's everybody. Anyway, yeah, so I'll look at maybe doing a short stream in the morning just to give you an update and give you an analysis of what's happened, because I have stated here on the record that I think that this next 12 hours is going to be is very critical for the event. But let me here, I don't know if you guys can see that. That's my Common Sense Conservatives on my polo. What do you think? Pretty cool. That's I've got several polos now with the Common Sense Conservatives right there. That's embroidered. I had that done. Yeah, so these shirts cost me a pretty penny. They're decent quality, but not top quality. But the embroidery work costs a lot. So I have this stuff now. So Miami Vice Chris style. Okay. Yeah, it was amazing to meet and get selfies with Kevin Sorbo. That was pretty cool. I hope I get to interview him. I'm not going to hold my breath. It would be great if I did get a chance to do that. So yeah, that would be pretty cool. Kevin Sorbo is pretty nice. Jennifer, hey, how's it going there? What's up? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it's good to see you there. So, yeah, it's CPAC has been something else thus far. And, you know, it's fascinating that Ukrainian invasion occurred as I got down here. So, Chris, how can I start getting into survivalism? Well, it's not hard to do Robot Trucker. One way is start watching survivalist channels, you know, and prepper channels, and you can learn an awful lot pretty quickly, and then you'll know what you don't know, what you need to focus on, and you can also get some books. There's lots of great books out there. It says I downloaded Telegram from App Store, and everything kept buffering. Deleted that and downloaded from the oh, problem solved. Well, that's interesting. Wow, that's really interesting. It might just be coincidence, though. You never know. But that is very interesting. Wow, that's pretty cool that you're able to get it to work. So, yeah, but short of that, folks, go to my link tree. And the link tree won't tell you about all my videos, but it will tell you about my social media presence. So, man, my eyes are really bothering me. They're sore from the long day. And I know I keep taking these reading glasses off, but I don't want to miss the comments that people are putting in here. But it's fascinating. It's really cool. What's really fascinating about this whole thing, too, is that so many people who care so much about this country, from Hispanics and Blacks, Jews, Christians, white folks, people from all over the country are here, and they all, for the most part, have love. Now, I will say that there are plenty of what I consider to be quite naive people here who are just, it's their cause. The other side of the aisle would have the same thing. Not that they're bad or they have bad intentions. I'm just saying they don't really know what they're talking about, but they're committed to the cause. But there are plenty of people that fully understand what's going on. It's interesting. So, well, for instance, the guy who was the former governor of Missouri spoke today, and he went on about how we abandoned, billions of dollars of military hardware, and we left it for arming the Taliban. And once again, folks, that's not true. I don't know why people want to stick with that narrative. It's not true, and I'll tell you why. Hey, Kobus, how are you? Let me tell you why it's not true. The military hardware that we left in Afghanistan didn't belong to us. We didn't abandon our hardware. We took all of our hardware out of Afghanistan. The military hardware that was left in Afghanistan belonged to the Afghan security forces. Congress allocated nearly $100 billion over nearly 20 years to train and equip that force. It's their equipment. It's not ours. It doesn't belong to us. So people need to stop saying that. Now, if they want to say that it was irresponsible to equip the Afghan forces with U.S. military hardware, knowing how weak they were, I'll go along with that argument. But you can't say that we left it all behind, because we didn't. It didn't belong to us. That's just total nonsense and uninformed. Yushan says, got only on your stream after the third attempt, but do experience this now for a week or so. Streaming is okay now. All right, Yushan, so thanks. Glad to see you again, man. But I mean, I'm down here, so I don't know if it's the connection. We had trouble today over there in the building when I was streaming the speakers. I don't know if it's YouTube or it's the data connection, but I was on the mobile network and I didn't have a problem. And then I had a problem on the mobile network. Then I was on the Wi-Fi, I didn't have a problem. Then I had a problem, so I don't know. Check out Travis Corcoran's book, Escape the City. There you go. All right, there you go, Robot Trucker. When you see an I at the bottom of a Telegram message, that means it's blocked on some Telegram messages that have been downloaded. Ah, that's what that means. That's what that means. I saw an I on a Telegram message. I was wondering what it was. So thank you for that. He also worked with Homeland Security in a similar way, prepping for emergencies. Watch alone. It shows you the minimal items you need. With minimal things. And that's good stuff. Yeah, it's, by the way, folks, we're going to have on my channel probably once a month a outdoors and survival. The aircon's kicking off again. An outdoor and survival program. And I'm going to have Citizen Guardian and some of the people from the wide family and farm community will be popping on too to talk about these sorts of things. So I'll do that once a month. That's the plan. And I'm looking forward to that. That's not going to happen the next couple weeks. I'm so busy right now, but we're going to do it. Yeah, so, anyway, wow, we got 41 here now. Imagine if the notifications went out. The video I did last night announcing the conflict, which is kind of what I'm doing now, except it's earlier than last night's. That video has 1,500 views on it, which, is nothing for the old days, but it's really good right now. I also had 2,100 views on Viant Toy, the Fireside with the Colonels we had on Monday, which people found very popular. They really liked that one. One more thing about Florida. I don't know how you all live down here. The price of groceries is off the charts. Now, I realize I'm in Orlando. They jacked the prices up. But a 4-pack of those Starbucks bottles that I drink, $7.79 before tax. $7.79. The same thing costs $3.79 in Pennsylvania. I've never seen 4 bottles of Starbucks go for that. Here's the other thing. So I went to buy food at a grocery store, Publix, and to buy drinks. I only left the drinks, and I put some back that I didn't want. I got some gummy bears, but that's about it. The food costs more in the grocery store than it does in a 7-Eleven convenience store. I bought sandwiches. I bought a huge foot-long sandwich, cold cut, for $5.99. A little tiny sandwich with the turkey and ham at Publix was $5.99. The footlongs were $10.99, and I paid $5.99. And it was like that across the board. I went and saw a bag of crisp. In South Africa, like say crisp, we say chips, these kettle chips. It was $5.99 for the same bag that cost $3.39 at the 7-Eleven across the street. That's insane, man. What kind of crap is that? So some Telegram messages never get to some phones. Apparently, it has to do with the phones. Yeah, so. Hey, Gear Garden. Dang, says Translation. Oh, yeah, yeah. Thanks so much. You're welcome. It's all gone way up Michigan too. Yeah, Tammy. Oh, you're in Michigan. Cool. By the way, in case you guys missed it, I'll probably interview him on my channel. But we interviewed on the Common Sense Conservatives program on Wednesday night when I was at the airport in Harrisburg with my colleagues. We interviewed Ryan Kelly, who's a Republican candidate for governor of Michigan. It was a good interview, so you might want to go watch that. You can watch it on the Truckers Independent Broadcasting Network on Facebook, or the Common Sense Conservatives on Facebook or YouTube. You can watch the interview there. I couldn't stay for the second hour because I had to board my flight to Orlando, but it's been a busy week. Monday we had Joel Stransky, the South African rugby legend. Tuesday, answered the question with Rob Hutchison, and then Fireside with the Colonels with Vine Dutoy. Then Wednesday, I was on with Ronaldo, plus I did my own program. Then I flew to Orlando. Then I did a live stream for the launch of the Ukrainian conflict. And then I got up a couple hours later and went to the CPAC convention. I'm getting a little tired and knackered here, folks. And today I did interviews, but I do want to upload one of those interviews tonight before I go. Our price in Orlando are double than, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Yeah, well, the gummy bears, they wanted $5 for a bag of gummy bears. And then I actually found another bag up by the till, the same size, from Haribo for $2.19. I was like, seriously? So I bought that one. Anyway, 49 likes, cool. You have to prep up and kiss me at Publix or find local Publix. Yeah, no, I got you, but I'm not going to pay the tolls and drive around and go hunt for places. I'm here. I'll just be stuck with it. I'll just starve and not eat much while I'm here. At least you can buy groceries. We have bare shelves at Walmart. There are literally no unfrozen chicken products last week. Minnesota's getting it bad. Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that. That's a shame, Griffin. Especially, I mean, Minnesota's a good agricultural state. And you've got neighboring Iowa with great agricultural state, Nebraska with great beef. So strange. Yeah, it's a crazy world in Joe Biden's gangster's paradise. Pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, folks, I should knock it off here. Let's see if somebody can push us up to 50 likes, if you don't mind. There's 41 of you here right now. Thanks for tuning in. If you didn't catch the whole stream, feel free to go back. I gave an update of the situation. I've also unequivocally stated, in my view, that the next 12 hours, which is now the next 11 hours, are likely to be the most crucial 12 hours of the current conflict in Ukraine. And I gave reasons for it. You can listen to that here. I'm going to work on this video and then fall asleep, get up in a few hours, and I'll probably do a short stream in the morning, which will be afternoon for folks in South Africa and Europe. And after I take a look at what's going on in Ukraine, I'll update you on that situation about a half hour, 45 minutes. So that'll be up, and then I'll head over to the conference, and I'll see who I can't interview today, and we'll see how it goes. Don't forget, Voldemort, also known as Donald Trump, will be here this week. That should be awesome to see too. So let me see the last comment here. Did I get them all? Okay. Gummy bears, yeah. Okay. Gear Garden. Gummy is the correct pronunciation. They're made by Germany. They're made by Haribo. And gummy is how they pronounce gummy. It's not gummy. That's when Americans say gummy bear. That's just I can't do it. I think it's some toothless granny chewing on those things. Bear Shelf Biden. That's right. Stephen, you're welcome. Take Play Store off your phone. There you go. Bye, and Google off your phone as well. So we'll bump up big conservative live at the same time tonight. We'll see. Spetsnaz and warships are going in there, shelling the shoreline and the island outpost. Yeah, that was happening yesterday too. Okay, there you go, says Gear Guard. That's it. Folks, thanks a lot. Smash the like button. We got 51 now. Thank you so much. I'll see you in a bit. Be sure to go back and watch my old content. Please. I mean, I think that I did the stream last night, which is really good quality, especially as Joe Biden was sleeping, and I was busy actually giving you analysis about what's happening in the Ukraine. I think that's incredible. And then the other one is I did one stream today in which I was standing in the hallway for about 40 minutes, and I talked about stuff, and I think I just gave a great riff of ripping off Joe Biden, how he failed, and why we're in the trouble we're in. So I think that's a really good riff. So yeah, please check that one out as well. It's a 39-minute video from today. All of them have the same cover sheet now. Organic ones from my mom. So yeah, they're softer, but they're not German. That's true. All right, that's it, folks. Thank you very much. Bye bye, danke. Kelebo, merci mille fois. Vielen Dank. And thank you all so much. All right. Cheers, everybody. Night, night. We'll see y'all later. Be safe.